The ocean has always held stories. Stories of triumph, stories of struggle, and stories of transformation. For generations, ships have carried not just sailors, but the weight of nations and the hopes of entire peoples. And in that endless expanse of blue, the U.S. Navy Zumwalt-Class destroyer cuts through the water not just as a vessel of steel, but as a symbol of progress, resilience, and innovation. To some, it may seem like just another warship. But to those who look deeper, it becomes a reminder of what happens when vision and courage meet technology and determination. The Zumwalt is unlike any destroyer the world has ever seen. Its silhouette is a sharp departure from tradition. Its sleek, angular design almost seems to emerge from the future, like something imagined in science fiction but made real by human hands. Yet behind this futuristic form lies a story that mirrors many journeys in Black history. The journey of building something that the world said could not exist, of carving a new path when the old one was filled with barriers, and of daring to redefine what power looks like. When the Navy introduced the Zumwalt, many wondered why. Why break tradition? Why take the risk of creating something so different? But progress has never been comfortable. The destroyer represents the same spirit that has driven people through centuries of adversity, the spirit that whispers, there has to be a better way. Just as communities that face oppression refuse to accept injustice as their permanent state, the engineers and visionaries behind the Zumwalt refuse to settle for the limits of yesterday's technology. 9 innovations set this ship apart, and each carries a story not just of technology, but of resilience and dignity. The first is its stealth design. Unlike traditional ships that rise above the sea and announce their presence, the Zumwalt slips through the waves with quiet defiance. Its radar signature is as small as a fishing boat. Even though it towers with the strength of destroyer, there is power in invisibility, in moving through hostile waters unseen, and it reminds us of how countless men and women move through hostile societies, unrecognized but unbroken, carrying their purpose with them. The second innovation is the ship's all-electric propulsion system. Unlike its predecessors, the Zumwalt doesn't rely on the old ways of mechanical power alone. Instead, it generates massive amounts of electricity, enough to power a small city, channeling that energy to everything from engines to weapons. There is something poetic about that. Energy converted into strength, potential transformed into motion. It is a story of people whose potential is often underestimated, yet who produce brilliance and resilience beyond measure when given the chance. Its advanced gun system is the third breakthrough. Designed to strike targets over 70 miles away with precision, it symbolizes a reach far beyond expectation. The long arc of justice that Dr. King once spoke of is not just metaphorical. It is mirrored here in a system that extends further than anyone thought possible, aiming not with brute force, but with precision. In its quiet way, the Zumwalt demonstrates that the future is not about hitting hardest, but about hitting with purpose. Fourth, the Zumwalt is powered by automation. With systems that reduce the need for large crews, it allows fewer hands to manage vast responsibilities. It is a reminder of how innovation can lighten the weight of labor, much like the way generations of Black innovators, from agricultural inventors to engineers, transformed the work of survival into the work of progress. The fifth innovation is its integrated power system, designed not just for the present, but for the future. The Zumwalt has energy reserves that may one day power railguns or directed energy weapons, technologies that seem to belong in tomorrow. This is more than engineering. It is a statement of faith in the future. It says, we are building not just for today's needs, but for what lies ahead. That forward-looking vision mirrors the resilience of communities who, even in the hardest days, believe in a tomorrow they had not yet seen. The sixth innovation lies in its computing power, its advanced combat systems that integrate data from sea, air, and space. In a world overflowing with noise, the Zumwalt processes chaos and turns into clarity. This ability resonates deeply. How many times have people living in the storm of discrimination taken fragments of pain, confusion, and loss and turned them into clarity, strategy, and dignity? The ship's brain echoes the resilience of human minds that refuse to be overwhelmed. The seventh breakthrough is its size and capacity. Though it hides on radar like a small vessel, it is the largest destroyer ever built by the U.S. Navy. That paradox, a giant cloaked in invisibility, speaks of quiet strength, of dignity that does not need to boast. It mirrors the lived experiences of countless individuals who carried immense courage and talent, often unseen by a world that refused to acknowledge them. The Zumwalt embodies the quiet giant within us all. 8. Its design for multi-mission adaptability allows it to pivot, to meet different challenges as they arise. In the same way that communities have had to adapt through centuries, shifting from one struggle to another, meeting every new obstacle with resilience, the Zumwalt adapts without losing its core identity. It is a vessel built for endurance, just as dignity and justice are built for endurance in the human spirit. Finally, the ninth innovation is its symbolism itself. Ships are more than steel, they are metaphors. The Zumwalt stands as a testament to courage, vision, and the refusal to accept limits. It embodies the spirit of those who dare to believe that the future could be reshaped, even when tradition resisted. Its very presence tells us that innovation is not just about technology, but about courage, justice, and dignity carried across oceans. The Zumwalt story is not about war alone. It is about transformation. It tells us that progress is possible when we refuse to be bound by the past. Just as this destroyer redefines what a warship can be, so too can we redefine what a society can become. It is a reminder that the ocean is vast, the challenges are many, but the human spirit, when fused with vision and courage, is greater still. The Zumwalt moves through the sea like a whisper, carrying with it not just the might of a nation, but the echoes of centuries of struggle and triumph. Every innovation that defines its destroyer reflects not just engineering brilliance, but the human spirit that dares to create something different, something better. And when we look closer, each part of the Zumwalt tells a story that resonates far beyond steel and technology. It speaks to the endurance of communities who, for generations, carved dignity out of hardship. To understand its true meaning, imagine the sailors aboard. They are young and old, diverse in heritage, carrying with them their own family histories. Some come from lineages where their ancestors fought not with ships, but with resilience against injustice on land. When these sailors step onto the Zumwalt, they step onto a ship that represents both a technological revolution and a continuation of that struggle for recognition and respect. Their presence makes the ship more than a machine. It makes it a living symbol of courage. The ship's stealth design becomes more than an innovation. It becomes a metaphor for lives lived in the shadows. Think of the countless black workers, artists, and soldiers who contributed to the foundation of nations, yet whose names were erased from the records. They, too, moved quietly, unseen by the radars of history, yet they carried immense strength. The Zumwalt reminds us that invisibility does not mean weakness. Sometimes, the unseen are the ones carrying the greatest power. And when the ship's electric heart beats, powering every system, it mirrors the unseen power within people who have been underestimated for centuries. Just as the Zumwalt channels invisible energy into unstoppable force, so too have communities turned quiet endurance into visible change. That current runs deep, and it carries the ship forward just as dignity has carried generations forward through storms. The long-reaching gun system echoes the long reach of justice. When it fires, it does not strike recklessly, but with precision, calculated, and deliberate. In that lies a lesson. Real power does not scatter aimlessly. It focuses. It remembers. It seeks its target with clarity. In the same way, movement for justice have always been precise in their purpose. They may take time, they may move slowly, but when they strike with accuracy born of years of patience and endurance. Automation, too, tells a story. By lightening the workload, it frees sailors to focus on what matters most. This is not just about reducing numbers. It is about increasing dignity in labor. For too long, too many people, especially black workers, have been defined by the weight of backbreaking work rather than the brilliance of their minds. The Zumwalt shows what happens when technology respects human effort, when systems are designed not just for efficiency, but for dignity. Its integrated power system holds potential beyond imagination. It stands ready for weapons not yet invented, for challenges not yet seen. This readiness is more than military preparation. It is faith in a future. It tells us that tomorrow can be faced with confidence, not fear. For communities that have endured centuries of oppression, Faith in the future has always been the most radical act of all. Believing in tomorrow, when today holds only pain, is itself an innovation of the human soul. And then its brain, the combat systems that process chaos into clarity. In the Zumwalt's operations, countless streams of data converge, overwhelming in their complexity, until the system refines them into one clear picture. This mirrors the resilience of communities who, when surrounded by injustice, noise, and chaos, found clarity. They turned fragments of oppression into strategies for survival. They turned confusion into clarity of purpose. In the Zumwalt's computers, we see a reflection of the human mind's unbreakable to find order in storms. Its size and paradox, massive yet invisible, becomes a story of dignity itself. The ship carries power it does not need to flaunt. In a world that often measures worth in loud displays, dignity is a quiet strength that does not demand attention yet cannot be ignored. Black communities have carried that quiet strength for generations, standing tall even when unseen, refusing to let the world's blindness define their worth. The Zumwalt moves with that same silent authority. Adaptability, too, is not just a feature of the ship, but a story of survival. The Zumwalt can pivot between missions, just as people have pivoted between struggles. Civil rights, education, representation, equality, meeting every challenge with resilience. Adaptability is not weakness. It is proof of strength, proof that identity does not break when circumstances change. It bends, it flexes, but it endures. And finally, its symbolism. The Zumwalt is not only a warship, it is a statement. It tells the world that the future is not bound by tradition, that progress is possible, even when the old ways say no. For those who have lived in the shadow of injustice, this is more than a military message. It is a human one. It is a reminder that change, though resisted, cannot be stopped. It is a living proof that new paths can always be carved, and that dignity can sail through even the stormiest seas. As the destroyer cuts through the ocean, it becomes clear that its story is larger than itself. It is about sailors who carry with them their families' sacrifices. It is about engineers who dare to design beyond convention. It is about a nation learning, slowly but surely, that its strength lies not just in power, but in justice, in dignity, in courage. For an audience that knows the cost of invisibility, of labor unrecognized, of potential underestimated, the Zumwalt story resonates. It says, "You are seen, even when the world's radar tries to hide you. You are powerful, even when underestimated. You are adaptable, even when forces shift. And your dignity, like the destroyer's course, cannot be diverted by storms." The Zumwalt is more than 9 innovations. It is 9 reminders, 9 testaments, to the truth that progress is born from courage. It is proof that the future can be reimagined, that silence can hold strength, and that dignity can move mountains, or in this case, oceans. When people look upon the Zumwalt, some will see only a warship, but those who know the deeper story will see something else, a symbol of what it means to endure, to innovate, and to rise. They will see not just steel and circuitry, but spirit and resilience. They will see their own reflection on the waves it leaves behind. And perhaps, as the ship disappears into the horizon, they will feel what sailors have always felt when watching a vessel vanish into the mist. The promise that no matter how uncertain the waters, courage will carry us through.